The communists began taking over South Vietnam 10 years ago. The Americans argue they must be stopped, or the rest of Southeast Asia will fall to the communists like a row of dominoes. Thus, the domino theory. After South Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. And finally, the whole area. Now, as America debates withdrawal from Vietnam, will the dominoes really fall? In Laos, a civil war between communist and non-communist has been going on for 15 years. The next domino looks shaky. A Laotian general flies in to inspect an outpost recently recaptured from the communists. The communists withdrew because of heavy American bombing. As always, the fighting in Laos depends on undeclared outside intervention. America on the one side, North Vietnam backed by China and Russia on the other. The Vietnam War has made Laos vital to both sides, but the Laotians themselves are the least warlike people in the world.
Who's this chap?
This one half battery, you know.
Who is this chap in the black hat here with the long hair?
Soldier too. Artilleryman.
He's got a sort of American Southern Cavalry hat on, isn't he? Is that's not a
No,
that's
the
not
artillery.
Laotian army hat, is it?
No, the artillery.
The artillery hat. He's got quite bushy hair, isn't he? No
Maybe
short back and sides for him.
He's a long time in front, you know.
Long time in the front. You see up there, General? Are they Americans? Are they American?
Oh,
American planes?
they are patrolling for the patrol.
But isn't one of the there's a bomber and four fighter bombers with it, isn't there?
No, not bomb, but the tanker.
That's a tanker for
The general could hardly admit the American planes had been bombing the communists, since the Americans don't admit it themselves.
Are they bombing to help your army down in the
No,
plain of Java?
I have no more fighting expedition.
No more. It's all over. But have the Americans? You said the situation had got better. Do you think it's because of the American bombing that it's got better?
I think that because the withdraw, if
The North Vietnamese who were here have withdrawn. There's peace for the time being. In 1962, Laos was officially declared neutral to stop it becoming a battleground between the West and communism. It has anyway. The North Vietnamese use it as a supply route to Vietnam and also help the Laotian communists with their fighting. The Americans counter with military supplies and bombing from bases in Thailand. Officially, Laos is still neutral. Unofficially, it has become a little Vietnam. The army now depends almost entirely on American air power and American supplies. There's even American beer provided when there's a general around.
American beer on top of Laotian mountain.
Yes, American beer.
Good supply and good morale.
You get like American army. They always need supply of beer every day. Huh?
Good supply, good morale. Good logistic, good morale.
The good logistics in Laos are all provided by the Americans. American intelligence, the CIA, runs the country's largest airline, Air America. Air America planes secretly drop arms and equipment to the Laotian army in the field. Openly, they drop rice to the refugees in the mountains. The 2.5 million Laotians receive more American aid per head than any country in the world. $50 tons of rice a day are flown to refugees by American planes. There are nearly 250,000 refugees in Laos now, many of them hill tribesmen who depend solely on the rice drops made by Air America pilots. The pilots are recruited by the CIA and handsomely paid for their hazardous work. Near the dropping zone, the Laotian crew get ready to kick out the rice sacks. They cling to a single strap to stop them falling out. On the ground, the refugees put out the marker to tell the pilot to drop. If the marker is not out, he knows the village has been captured by the communists. These refugees are Mayos, a tough mountain tribe from northern Laos. The refugees in Laos usually make for the government-held areas because they know the Americans will feed them. No rice is ever wasted, even from the split sacks. It's hoped, in time, these Mayo villagers will plant their own rice, and maybe opium, and no longer need American aid. By that time, another batch of refugees will be uprooted, waiting to be fed. The area's refugee advisor is Bob Dakin. He's been in Laos 4 years and was formerly with the Peace Corps in Indonesia. Dakin reflects the best type of American aid worker in Laos, sincere and realistic. He knows that a quiet life and enough to eat are the only politics of these refugees.
What does he think the war is on for? Does he know why it's being fought, the war?
เจ้าเนี่ยพ่อฮู้จักว่ามันทำในบ้านก็คือทำในบ้านนำกันเนาะก็ดีนะให้กระเจ้ามัน
บ่ฮู้แล้ว
บ่เข้าใจ
เองบ่ฮู้นะ
บ่เข้าใจบ่เข้าใจ When I asked them what the war was about in Laos, do they have any idea what the war is in Laos?
Why was it being fought?
Why it was being fought? They saidบ่เข้าใจ, which means we don't really know what's going on. And that's what you have. That's what you work with. You have to understand the history of Laos and the fact that this is a country caught in between many great powers, China being one, the Burmese at one time being another, certainly the North Vietnamese. The Thai and the Cambodians have all come through Laos at some time in history and taken pretty much what they want. And again, it's the North Vietnamese and to some extent the Chinese coming again. And the Lao have grown up ever since they were little kids, the people that are colonels now and in the military, the people that are Naibans and Ta Sings of
The village chiefs,
the village chiefs of war is a natural occurrence with them, and they again go about life with in a presence of war, but really not paying that much attention to it.
In Vientiane, the capital of Laos, the easygoing Laotians find it easy to forget the war, especially at holiday time. Watching other people work is a Laotian hobby. Watching other people race boats on the Mekong River is how they mark the end of Buddhist Lent. Each longboat has a crew of 42. No one seems to care too much who's winning. Perhaps most of them feel the same way about the war. The president of the boat race is the Crown Prince of Laos. Behind him, presenting a menacing communist bloc, the Chinese ambassador and the ambassador of North Vietnam. It seems only natural in the shadowy world of Laos that the major business should be opium. It's illegal, of course, but it happens to be the country's most valuable export. No one has yet managed to suggest any alternative cash crop that the hill tribesmen could grow so profitably. And since the army generals receive all the profits from the illegal trade, opium keeps going strong. Pot is freely on sale in Vientiane's market, and the trouble with the Laotian economy is that almost everything else is too. Imports exceed exports by 20 to 1, but since America pays for half the national budget, there are no balance of payments problems. But some think American aid has not been wisely used. Fred Brantham, a former aid worker, thinks it's had a bad effect on the Laotian government.
Well, I think the first problem is that the Americans have set up a parallel government structure here to the Lao government, and as a result, they've destroyed the effective authority of the Lao government. The people know that everything they get is from the Americans, and as a result, they no longer have very much confidence in their own government's ability to do anything. For example, the aid program is, as I said, has widened the gap between the people and their own government, because they see the Americans bring in all the goods, and they know that their own government, it's proven as clear to them as light that their own government can't do it. Inflation, tremendous rise in luxury imports over the last 10 years. The price of the kip is only stabilized by the most artificial of means. And I think that Laos in many ways may be less capable of governing itself now independently without outside help than it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Do you think people are fighting the war for a reason? I mean, the people here know what it's about, know what they're defending, know what they're fighting for against the communists?
I don't think so, no. My impression is that people, at least on this side, which I know better, when they're in the army, it's because they were forced into it. Sometimes they go in because it's a way of making money, getting out of the village. But that's about as far as the ideology goes. This is a personal impression.
Do you think the people around here now, in this market, for example, they don't fear the arrival of the communists taking over the country? You don't get any people expressing a great dread of what would happen if the communists took over?
Not the common people. Some of the high class, the elite, who would lose their privileges, lose their Mercedes and their cars, are of course very upset. But I could say in the 2 years I've been here, I can't think of a time when a farmer or a worker in a factory, worker in maybe a garage or something, has expressed a tremendous fear of the Pathet Lao taking over.
Near the market is the oddest sight in non-communist Vientiane, a communist Pathet Lao sentry guarding a small communist garrison. The Pathet Lao are unlikely to attack anyone except at ping pong. Their armed force is a relic of the days when the communists briefly formed part of a committee that met in Vientiane to supervise a ceasefire. The committee never met, there was never a ceasefire, but the Pathet Lao stayed on in their comfortable French house.
Oh. A struggle, Colonel, between the West and communism. I think the West is being defeated, Colonel.
Their commander, Colonel Sot Patrasi, sees no conflict between his men remaining in Vientiane while outside his colleagues fight the government troops. His troops raise vegetables here, go to propaganda classes, and inevitably sing communist victory songs. Colonel Sott's troops are certainly an amiable bunch of communists, but comradely relations don't stop there. In this compound, the animals too are keen for coexistence. It's hard to take the Pathet Lao seriously. Their leader is a prince, half-brother of the Laotian Prime Minister Suvarnabhuma. But Prince Suvarnabhuma has little cause for brotherly love. He believes his country is being invaded by the North Vietnamese, who use the Pathet Lao as a front. Prince Suvarnabhuma says he needs American arms, not American troops. Why?
Because our country is being invaded by North Vietnam. The Geneva Agreements recognize that Laos has the right to ask its allies for conventional weapons in order to defend itself. We have asked for American help solely to defend ourselves against invasion. It is not to attack our neighbors. The North Vietnamese are land hungry. From that, it would be a short step to colonizing Laos.
The Laotian government certainly supports the domino theory. As proof of outside intervention, the army produce their North Vietnamese prisoners. Naturally, the North Vietnamese won't confess their troops are in Laos, but the prisoners are plain enough.
General, what prisoners are these here?
They are North Vietnamese. They are prisoners of our army. We have more than 60 since the beginning.
They're a different breed entirely from the Laotians. Tough, ruthless, absolutely convinced of victory. Some of them have spent years fighting in Laos.
Did he know he was coming to Laos to fight when they sent him off?
Lúc mà anh lên đường để đi đánh nhau thì các anh có biết là các anh được phái sang đánh ở bên Lào này không? Không biết. No, he didn't know it.
Where did he think he was going to fight?
Lúc bây giờ anh tưởng là đi đánh ở đâu? Không biết đâu. He didn't know
He didn't know where he was going.
No.
Does he think he's fighting the Americans here?
Lúc bây giờ anh có biết là anh có ý định, có cái ý trong đầu là anh qua đây để đánh người Mỹ không? Vì Mỹ đã đánh người Lào với nhau rồi. Vì Mỹ cả. Oh yes, he said that it is all because of the American. That we were sent here to fight.
For the Americans?
Yes, yes.
Has he seen Americans when he's been fighting in Laos, or has he been bombed by American planes in Laos?
Trong thời kỳ mà anh chiến đấu ở trên cái lãnh thổ nước Lào thì anh có bao giờ thấy lính Mỹ hoặc là thấy máy có phi cơ của Mỹ hay không? Tất nhiên đất Lào này phi cơ của Mỹ. He said it's natural that the armed equipment and aircraft are come from the United States, but he has not seen any American soldier.
Who does he think is going to win the war?
Theo ý anh thì ai sẽ thắng ở trong cái trận chiến tranh này? Yeah. Ai sẽ thắng trong cái trận chiến tranh này? Chiến tranh Việt Nam thắng. Việt Nam sẽ thắng hả? Yes, the Vietnam will win the war.
North Vietnam.
Yes, for him that's Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Against the best guerrilla army in the world, America replies with massive air power. From bases in Thailand, American aircraft are now flying more than 3,000 sorties a week in Laos, more than they were at the height of the bombing of North Vietnam. Each B-52 carries 30 tons of bombs on missions over Laos. The stepping up of the air war has stopped the communists in Laos for the time being, though the raids on North Vietnam never halted the ground troops for long. But will Americans continue their vast air raids once the war in Vietnam is over? Already, President Nixon is under fire for his war policy in Laos. A Laotian camp near the North Vietnam border, scene of the biggest government victory against the communists in 5 years. The troops are not regular Laotian soldiers, but members of the secret army, a 35,000-strong force of Mao tribesmen trained and financed by the CIA. The leader of the secret army is General Vang Pao, a 40-year-old Mao and former sergeant in the French army. He's rated the best and most honest general in the country.
Are we going to see some recaptured weapons?
I want to show you our enemy stock and enemy truck and anything like in here, you know. Enemy must have in the valley and there.
And it's North Vietnamese here. It's not local Pathet Lao.
No,
it's North
Vietnamese.
Vietnamese.
Pure Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Vang Pao took me on a quick tour of the area he's just recaptured, part of the vital plain of Jars which controls all the roads in Laos. The North Vietnamese hid small petrol dumps all over the plain. Vang Pao claims he's captured £25 million worth of supplies in the past 3 months. The enemy have taken to the hills. Vang Pao denies this success was due to Americans.
No Vietnamese. Yeah.
This firing we're hearing is this your people firing into the valleys, this firing we're hearing now?
Enemy fires some, and we fire some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But normally they attack at night.
Enemy attack all night time, not daytime.
When Americans come here, they always say you win because of you've got a lot of American support. Is that fair?
Have many newspapers said have much troop American support in here. May not true, don't have. This I like too much to take you to come to see in the front direct, and you can see anywhere open, you know. Have nothing. Have all the other troop.
No
How
American
you see American troop today?
No,
and here?
I haven't seen any American.
Yeah, like this, you know. And I like to show you, show everybody come. I like too much to show him. We fight by ourselves, Laotian fight.
You fight?
No have American, no have Thai, no have anything come here.
The recaptured area bears all the marks of a softening up job by the American Air Force. Craters as big as this were made by American jets. But a North Vietnamese battalion headquarters dug into the rock shows how difficult it is to spot infantry from the air.
General, what's this here?
This hole here and young man here called.
This is what is this? A bunker going all the way underneath this rock?
Yeah, go here and over and there. Have big
all the way
holes
through,
there,
all the way to the
all
rock.
these here have big holes.
And they get down by this rope here.
Yeah,
If you fling this rope down.
They get down by this band here, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this. And
How many could this hole hold? How many people could get down there, do you think?
Maybe 500 men can do.
Really?
Because,
Right the way
yeah,
down?
oh, very big.
And could they be bombed out of this, or would it be very secure? Could they resist?
Oh, very secure because
Can't bomb.
nobody knows, you know, about have the hole in here. You in the air, you locate and like nothing, you know. When you come here in the ground, you see, very small hole. Nobody know, you know. Very difficult to find.
Vang Pao certainly has zest for a fight, unlike most Laotian generals. He's bitterly anti-communist and apt to shake a fist at the North Vietnamese over the hill.
What do you think the North Vietnamese want here? What do they want?
And they want to take and merge Lao country, and after they want to go to Thailand.
What sort of war is this? Is it just guerrilla war here?
Oh, here now, and government made big war in here. After you see in all the material in here, you know, and all the material I got here about 2 months ago.
This is a big war.
This is not small war, you know. Have tank, have artillery, 37 AA, 12.7, 14, 45.
These are all the big weapons
85, yeah, and 120, and the rocket 122, you know, all. Not easy, this, you know. Big war in the mat and Laos.
But Vang Pao's army will not decide the future of Laos. That will be decided by the North Vietnamese. If they should step up the Laos war, then America will be left with only 2 choices: to involve herself ever more deeply in another Southeast Asian war, or to stand aside while North Vietnam takes over Laos. If the domino theory is right, that will only be the beginning.
Hey,